As the new year kicks off, it signals a fresh start for many teams and players aiming to hit their stride. The NBA trade season is officially underway, and we've already seen the first big move. The Lakers and Nets set things in motion with a trade featuring D'Angelo Russell and Dorian Finney-Smith as the key players. But this is just the beginning. There could be much bigger moves on the horizon. With rumors swirling about several star players being available, today's video dives into an exciting topic. We'll be talking about 5 NBA stars who urgently need to be traded in 2025, whether it's for their own benefit, their teams, or both. The first NBA star who needs to be traded in 2025 is Jimmy Butler of the Miami Heat. This one seems like a no-brainer, as Butler has been making waves recently by pushing for a trade. He appears frustrated with the Heat's lack of urgency and wants to spend the rest of his career playing for a team that's serious about contending. At 35 years old, Butler can't carry a team for an entire season and still elevate his game in the playoffs like he used to. Instead, he's looking for a team already close to championship contention where he can step in and make a big impact. The Heat are in a tricky position here. Butler is in the final year of his contract with a player option for next season that he's unlikely to take. If he becomes a free agent this summer, Miami risks losing him for nothing. That's why it's in their best interest to work with him to find a trade that benefits both sides, getting Butler to a team he likes while securing a decent return for Miami. There will definitely be plenty of teams interested in Butler. His reputation as a clutch performer in the playoffs makes him a valuable addition for any squad. However, teams need to be aware that he's looking for one last big contract extension. If you trade for him, you're also committing to keeping him for a few more years. Overall, though, a trade seems like the best move for everyone involved. The next star who needs a trade in 2025 is Zion Williamson of the New Orleans Pelicans. The Pelicans have been the league's biggest disappointment this season, and things are getting worse fast. They're sitting at the bottom of the Western Conference standings, their key players can't seem to stay healthy, and even when everyone is on the court, the team just isn't good enough to compete in the stacked Western Conference. This situation feels like it's heading toward a complete meltdown. When Zion Williamson was selected as the first overall pick in the 2019 NBA Draft, the Pelicans envisioned building a championship-caliber team around him. At the time, Zion was one of the most exciting young talents the sport had ever seen. But now, as we approach the 6th year of his career, it's becoming clear that he won't reach the superstar ceiling many hoped for. At his best, Zion is still an incredibly talented player, a borderline all-star who can put up impressive numbers. However, being the cornerstone of a team aiming for consistent championship contention requires being one of the top 10 players in the league, and Zion has fallen short of that mark. This reality has left the Pelicans stuck and unable to move forward as a franchise. The best course of action for the Pelicans might be to blow it all up and start a full rebuild. If they decide to go that route, Zion is likely to be one of the first players they shop around. While his trade value has taken a hit because of his injury history, holding on to him and staying stuck in mediocrity could be even worse for the team's future. The next star who also needs to be traded in 2025 is Brandon Ingram, Zion's teammate on the Pelicans. Much of what applies to Zion also applies to Ingram. Despite his undeniable talent, Ingram has struggled to consistently elevate the Pelicans, and the team's lack of success is a clear sign that it's time to make big changes. A trade involving both Zion and Ingram could give the Pelicans the fresh start they need to rebuild for a brighter future. For obvious reasons, Brandon Ingram seems the most likely player on the Pelicans to be traded. The team appears to recognize that their current roster isn't leading them anywhere promising, and their actions suggest they saw this disappointment coming. When Ingram's representatives met with the Pelicans to discuss a possible contract extension, the talks didn't progress at all. This strongly indicates the team has no intention of keeping Ingram beyond this season. Since this is the final year of his contract before he becomes a free agent, the Pelicans would be wise to trade him rather than risk losing him for nothing. Letting a key player walk without getting anything in return is never a smart move. While Ingram had a rough season last year, he has bounced back this year with much improved play. Teams looking for a scoring upgrade will likely be interested in making an offer for him. Because he's on an expiring contract, the price to trade for Ingram shouldn't be sky high. Plus, teams won't be locked into a long-term commitment if he doesn't end up being the right fit. This flexibility makes him an appealing option for many contenders looking for a mid-season boost. The next star who desperately needs to be traded in 2025 is De'Aaron Fox of the Sacramento Kings. While the Pelicans might be the biggest disappointment in the Western Conference, the Kings aren't far behind. They entered this season with high hopes, believing they had a roster capable of competing with the best teams in the West. After signing DeMar DeRozan in the offseason, their offense looked intimidating on paper. However, things haven't gone as planned. The Kings, despite their talent, have struggled to meet expectations, and Fox's future with the team is now in question. Like Ingram, Fox's situation might signal that the Kings need to rethink their direction if they want to make real progress. The problem with the Kings is that basketball isn't played on paper, and this group hasn't been able to work well together at all. This lack of chemistry has left the team stuck in 12th place in the Western Conference standings. Things have gotten so bad that the Kings recently fired head coach Mike Brown. If the team doesn't improve under new leadership, De'Aaron Fox might seriously consider leaving. His name has already come up in reports as someone to watch if the Kings' struggles continue. Fox has been with the Kings for 8 years and has only experienced playoff basketball once. With Sacramento seemingly going all in to build a competitive team, it's understandable why Fox might feel frustrated when their efforts still aren't enough. He could easily want to move to a team where he can compete for something meaningful rather than being stuck in mediocrity. Represented by Clutch Sports, known for helping their clients get traded to better situations, Fox would likely benefit greatly from a fresh start with another team. Finally, the last star player who desperately needs to be traded in 2025 is Zach LaVine of the Chicago Bulls. LaVine has been a regular name on the trade block in recent years. After a tough season last year that significantly hurt his trade value, he's now doing a great job bouncing back and improving his stock. The Bulls seemed ready to embrace a rebuild after their disappointing season, but surprisingly, they're still in the running for a spot in the play-in tournament. While this might delay any major moves, LaVine's strong performance this year makes him an attractive trade option for teams looking for a scoring boost. If the Bulls eventually decide to fully commit to rebuilding, trading LaVine would make sense for both the player and the franchise. The 29-year-old Zach LaVine is back to playing at a high level, averaging 22 points per game and shooting a career-best 44% from three-point range. He's exactly the kind of scoring wing that playoff contending teams will be calling the Bulls about as the trade deadline approaches. When the Bulls eventually commit to their rebuilding plans, they'll have every reason to make a trade happen, especially since LaVine's strong performance is likely to increase his trade value. For LaVine himself, moving to a better situation would make sense at this stage in his career. He deserves a chance to compete on a bigger stage, and a trade would be a win-win for both him and the Bulls. It's clear that both sides are ready to move on and start fresh, making now the perfect time to find a deal. And that wraps things up for today. Don't forget to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and let me know in the comments which teams you think should trade for these players. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you all next time.